flaw. See a nurse goes up, she's definitely not Shaq. Even body, that hurts.
So there's been a lot of talk about Caitlin Clark's conduct toward officials, which is valid, right? Like, don't always need to crash out. It can be a self-fulfilling prophecy when you chirp at the refs like that all the time. Then they're not going to like you as much and maybe not give you the benefit of the doubt on calls. Of course, no one wants to see somebody complain to the officials all the time. So,
Caitlin Clark walked into the WNBA expecting tough defenders, but nobody expected the rookie superstar to walk into a full-blown basketball war, where even the referees became part of the headline. Now, fans are asking if Clark has finally reached her breaking point after a series of controversial calls, while the league scrambles to control the chaos. The craziest part is that this fight might reveal a much bigger problem hiding inside the WNBA.
So Caitlin Clark is the worst officiated player in the WNBA. And this right here is what I would say bordering on cheap shot. Like, I don't know if I go full cheap shot from Brittany Griner, because there is a little bit of, you can give benefit of the doubt to Griner here that it's not a cheap shot by saying she's 6'9", and that any moving screen looks like it could be a cheap shot. Unpopular opinion, apparently, according to Caitlin Clark haters, Caitlin flopped here, and this actually was, the refs did a good right job not calling it.
The most unusual thing about Caitlin Clark's rise is not that she became one of the most famous basketball players on the planet. It is that her success created a level of attention that exposed every weakness, every argument, and every uncomfortable conversation surrounding women's basketball at the exact same time.
Caitlin Clark and her technical fouls. Caitlin Clark got 2 technical fouls, or so we thought. The first one, the ball gets tipped out of bounds, she goes to get it, she kicks it off of her foot, thinking it'll go against the scores table and then come right back to her. But it didn't. Went off the side and kind of rolled down the court. She hustled after it, gave it back to the ref, and he called her for a bench technical for the delay of game. That goes against the bench, not against Caitlin.
A player who entered the professional game as a generational talent quickly became something much bigger than a scorer, because every game she played turned into a national discussion about money, popularity, officiating, fairness, and whether the league around her was prepared for the phenomenon it had created.
Trying to look like the superstar out here, man. What's going on? Now, also, Caitlin Clark had to come at the coach. Said he was chirping all night. Chirping. Hold on. Look at this, man. So you got Caitlin right there, look, shushing him. Giving him the shush. Oh, my goodness. Look. he like, hey, man, take her up. Look. Look, he's still crying. Look, she's shushing me.
For months, fans had watched the Caitlin Clark effect transform the basketball world in ways that even longtime supporters of the sport could not have predicted. Arenas filled with new supporters who had never followed the WNBA before. Television ratings climbed to levels that forced executives to reconsider old assumptions and
has picked up a bunch of fouls this year, and I'm not even saying a lot of them were bad calls. Plenty of them were good calls. I think one in particular, there was a silly foul she made on a break in the Washington game where she didn't need to touch the player at all. I think it was Citron. It was a ticky-tack foul, but it was, something she shouldn't have done. And then some of the other ones, they're targeting her, going after her, so she's not in the right place. A foul whistle gets blown. But on the other side of the floor, she's constantly being, the whole freedom of movement thing.
And every opponent suddenly found themselves playing in front of audiences that were far larger than anything they had experienced in previous seasons. However, with that incredible attention came a level of pressure that few athletes ever experience. Because every mistake was analyzed, every disagreement became a headline, and every controversial moment became another battle in a much larger cultural argument. The latest storm surrounding Clark did not begin because of one missed shot or one difficult performance. It came from a growing frustration among fans who believed that the superstar was being treated differently by officials, with many arguing that the physical contact she faced was crossing the line from normal basketball competition into something that needed to be addressed. The conversation exploded after several games where Clark appeared to receive limited protection from referees, despite repeated contact from defenders, creating a situation where supporters felt the league was failing to protect the very player who was bringing millions of new eyes to the sport. The reaction was immediate because Caitlin Clark had become the kind of athlete whose every moment carries enormous weight. When a rookie struggles, Most fans understand that development takes time. But when a player arrives with the expectations placed on Clark, every challenge becomes magnified. What made the situation even more complicated was that the debate was never only about one player. It represented a much larger disagreement about how professional sports handle their biggest stars.
Sparks have a foul to give, so they're looking to do that, and no call, game over, they win. No, we did have a foul called by the bald ref on our side of the screen, bottom, and this woman is like, what? Breakdown's brought to you by DraftKings. And he says, hey, we got to check out the time and find out how much is on the clock. That's what they did, 1.1 seconds left. So now the Sparks, who are down one, have life. Caitlin Clark doesn't like it. She doesn't like that ref. She thinks he fucking sucks.
Some fans believed Clark was receiving unfair criticism simply because she was attracting unprecedented attention, while others argued that every player in the league should be treated equally, and that increased popularity should not automatically guarantee special treatment. Between those two viewpoints was a complicated reality that made the discussion far more interesting than a simple argument about refereeing. The irony was that Clark's arrival was supposed to be the moment when everyone celebrated the growth of women's basketball. Instead, her presence revealed just how much tension existed beneath the surface. A league that had spent years fighting for recognition suddenly found itself dealing with a superstar whose popularity moved faster than the systems around her could adapt. The attention was a dream scenario financially, music, but managing the expectations that came with it became one of the biggest challenges the WNBA had ever faced. Before she even played her first professional game, Clark had already changed the business side of basketball. She was no longer simply a talented guard trying to prove herself at the next level. She was a business phenomenon whose impact could be measured in ticket sales, merchandise numbers, television ratings, and the sudden expansion of interest from casual sports fans.
Did get a technical on her own at the end of the game when she argued a call with the ref. Once she hits 7, she has to sit out a game. So, do you guys think she's going to make it the rest of this season? I highly doubt it.
Technical, I didn't need an explanation. I deserved it, but it was worth it. The delay of game made no sense. It felt like Tyler wanted to assert himself into the game, and that was ridiculous. So, that just not a point in the game he needed to call that. I went and got the ball, went off my foot off the scores table, and then he gave us a delay game, which is a team technical foul. So.
That is why every controversy involving Clark created such a massive reaction. A normal rookie experiencing growing pains would not generate endless debates across social media and sports programs. But Clark's situation was different because millions of people felt personally connected to her journey. They had watched her break records, carry Iowa through historic tournament runs, and redefine what was possible for a women's basketball player. When they believed she was being treated unfairly, they did not see it as just another basketball disagreement. They saw it as a challenge to the progress they believed she represented. The officiating debate became even more intense because basketball has always existed in a complicated space where physical play, competitive intensity, and player safety constantly collide. Veteran players often argue that newcomers must earn respect, while fans often believe that elite talents should receive enough protection to showcase their skills. The difficulty comes from finding the balance between allowing fierce competition and preventing situations where excessive contact changes the outcome of games or places certain players at unnecessary risk. Every opponent knew that slowing down Clark was not only about stopping points on the scoreboard, it was about slowing down the attention, excitement, and momentum that followed her everywhere. As the season continued, the physical challenges became one of the defining storylines around her rookie campaign. Some moments sparked genuine concern among fans, while others created heated arguments about whether emotions were influencing the way people interpreted normal basketball contact. The debate became so large that it sometimes overshadowed the actual games themselves, turning ordinary plays into moments that were replayed, analyzed, and discussed for days.
So, Caitlin Clark is playing defense. Brittany Griner lowers the shoulder and clocks her in the jaw. Like, I'm sorry, this is the shit that Conor McGregor did to Cowboy Cerrone that broke his face. Like, she drops her shoulder and then turns it in. Like, that is the only benefit of the doubt that you can give, is that Brittany Griner's 6'9" and maybe she didn't try to clock her in the jaw.
Yet through all the noise, Clark's response revealed something important about her mentality. Instead of allowing the controversy to completely define her experience, she continued focusing on improving her game, adapting to the speed and physicality of professional basketball, and proving that her success was built on more than popularity. She understood that attention could create opportunities, but long-term respect had to come from performance. The biggest challenge for any young athlete entering a new level of competition is adjusting when the game becomes more difficult than expected. Clark experienced that adjustment publicly with every weakness examined and every mistake amplified. However, the same pressure that created criticism also created an opportunity for growth, because overcoming adversity often becomes the moment that separates promising players from true stars. The real question became whether the entire basketball ecosystem was ready for a player whose influence had already surpassed traditional expectations. The league wanted the attention, the revenue, music, and the global spotlight that came with her arrival, but managing the responsibility that followed was a completely different challenge. Because when a player changes the business of a sport, the expectations surrounding that player change as well. Every decision becomes symbolic. Every controversy becomes amplified. And every difficult moment becomes part of a larger story.
Body control by Caitlin Clark. There's your style. Going into the body of Clark, gonna give her the bucket, the foul, and one more for Lowry Ustaita.
Now, I am going to show where the BS started showing up with the ref Tyler, right? But I do want to talk about some of my favorite moments in this game, and let's start right here with Caitlin Clark, man, making LaCon pay. Look, you're going to see what happens. LaCon is going to go right under this screen, and that's something you never want to do against a shooter, man.
For Caitlin Clark, the battle was never only happening on the scoreboard. It was happening in the conversations surrounding the game itself, where fans, critics, players, and executives were all trying to understand what her arrival truly meant for the future of basketball. The most fascinating part of Caitlin Clark's journey is that the biggest battle surrounding her career has rarely been about whether she can play basketball. That question was answered long before she stepped onto a professional court. The real battle has been about what happens when one athlete becomes so influential that every decision, every foul, every missed call, and every controversial moment suddenly becomes a national conversation. When Clark entered the WNBA, she did not arrive as a normal rookie trying to quietly earn respect. She arrived carrying expectations that few athletes in any sport have ever faced. It became a test of how the league would handle its most recognizable new superstar. The latest controversy surrounding Clark came from a growing belief among many fans that she was not receiving enough protection from officials during games. Supporters pointed to several moments where she appeared to absorb heavy contact without receiving the same level of foul calls that they expected for a player of her importance. As clips spread across social media, the conversation quickly moved beyond individual plays and became a larger debate about consistency, fairness, and whether the league was properly protecting the player responsible for bringing so much new attention to the sport.
Something on the milk ain't been clean when it comes to Stephanie White and hasn't been clean for a long time. And a lot of people send me videos and a lot of people talk to me about whether or not they really believe there's some beef between Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark, or they're just putting, on a good show when the cameras are in their face, whether or not they really like each other or don't. So the last game that Caitlin Clark had was against the Chicago Dream, and she put up a monster performance, almost had a triple-double, was 3 rebounds.
The reaction was enormous because Caitlin Clark's popularity has created a situation unlike anything the WNBA has experienced before. Normally, a rookie's struggles are discussed within the basketball community, but Clark's performances are analyzed by millions of casual fans, former athletes, celebrities, and media personalities who suddenly have a much deeper interest in women's basketball. A single play that might have gone unnoticed in previous seasons can now dominate headlines because so many people are paying attention. However, the controversy also revealed how complicated the situation really is. At the same time, fans argue that there is a difference between competitive defense and allowing unnecessary physical treatment toward a player who has become the face of the league. Finding the balance between those two perspectives has become one of the biggest challenges surrounding Clark's career. The irony is that Caitlin Clark's arrival was supposed to represent a celebration of progress. For years, women's basketball supporters had argued that the sport deserved more attention, stronger financial investment, and greater recognition. When Clark brought record audiences, sold-out arenas, and massive media interest, it appeared that the moment everyone had been waiting for had finally arrived. Yet, instead,
They foul, it sends the Fever to the line, so they're looking to do that again, and bam, they get it. Okay, 0.4 seconds left. Yeah, way to start the clock. Good job. It's not a foul if they don't touch. No, it's not. Anyway, spin the ball, bounce, spin, bounce, shoot, miss. Second shot, shoot, miss. They grab it, but surely the clock ran out. Oh, wait, no. So in WNBA, they have a rule called a reset timeout. You can call it if there's more than 0.3 seconds.
Yet, instead of being a simple victory story, her presence exposed the complicated realities of a league trying to adjust to unprecedented growth. The business impact of Clark's arrival has been impossible to ignore. Before playing a single professional game, she had already changed conversations around ticket sales, television ratings, merchandise, and sponsorship opportunities. Teams that previously struggled to attract major attention suddenly found themselves playing in front of larger crowds because fans wanted to witness the Caitlin Clark effect in person. Her influence extended beyond the basketball court because she represented a connection between longtime supporters and a new generation of fans discovering the sport for the first time. That is exactly why every controversy involving her creates such a powerful reaction. Meanwhile, others argue that the league cannot allow popularity alone to determine how players are treated because every athlete deserves the same standard of fairness. The pressure placed on Clark is almost impossible to compare with a typical rookie experience. Every mistake is examined. Every difficult game becomes a headline. And every physical matchup becomes part of a much bigger discussion. The same attention that has helped her become one of the most marketable athletes in the world has also created an environment where every challenge becomes magnified. Yet, the most impressive part of Clark's response has been her ability to continue competing despite the constant noise surrounding her.
Also went off during this game. She had another double-double. Caitlin Clark, by the way, is in a league of her own. She is the only WNBA player, as in Diana Taurasi. This doesn't include you. The only WNBA player that has had multiple 30-point games with multiple three assists. The only player in WNBA history.
Instead of allowing controversy to become the main focus of her career, she has continued adapting to the professional level, improving her decision-making, and showing why so many people believed she could change the game. The transition has not always been easy, but greatness is rarely created during comfortable moments. The physical challenges, criticism, and constant debate have become part of her introduction to professional basketball. Every superstar eventually faces a moment when opponents stop respecting their potential and start testing their limits. For Clark, that moment arrived almost immediately because everyone understood the importance of slowing down the player who had already changed the attention surrounding the league. What happens next will determine how this chapter is remembered. Caitlin Clark's impact goes far beyond statistics and highlights because she has forced an entire sport to confront questions about popularity, fairness, and the future of women's basketball. The debate surrounding her is not simply about referees or individual games. It is about what happens when one athlete becomes powerful enough to challenge the traditional structure around her. Caitlin Clark did not just enter the WNBA looking for a place to belong. She arrived and immediately changed the conversation about where the sport could go next.